activated the black screen to get it out of the way so that it's not blocking things up for us. And again, much like with the black screen, much like what we had with our game over screen, we want to make sure that our new pause menu appears in front of the black screen so that we're actually able to press the buttons that we want to press. So let's just go to canvas up here, and we're going to right click on this and create an empty object that we will call pause screen, like that. And we could have this either be in front of or behind the game over screen. It doesn't really matter too much, but we'll just put it behind the game over screen for now, but in front of the black screen, so we don't have the same issue of it not being clickable when we pause the game. So we're going to have this pause screen here. Obviously we're going to need some options just like we have with the game over, so let's create them. We're going to right click on this, and we're going to create a UI button, and we're going to make duplicates of that now in a second. But also, when we pause the game, we want to be able to the screen to go dark so that we know the game is paused. So let's also right click on pause screen again, and we're going to go to UI and then image, and much like we did for our game over screen, first of all we want to make sure our image is behind the button, because we want this black screen to be behind the button, not in front of it. And we're going to change this to be black like that, but then partially see-through by moving our alpha value down. And then we're going to drag this out so that it becomes the full size of the screen like this. And then we want to make sure that that will stretch out to the outside, and that our pause screen will also stretch out as far as possible. So now those things will stretch out just the way we want, but our button object down here itself will stay nicely locked into the middle there. Perfect. So we can drag this down here, and we should also actually just add an extra bit of UI text just to say that the game is paused. So we'll just say paused like that. This object, where does it is here, isn't it? There we go. So let's just make this a bit bigger like that so that it appears above the button. We'll center the text in both directions, make it white, and then make it nice and big, like that. There we go. Okay, so we got our button. So we're obviously going to need a couple of buttons here that we're going to use. We want to be able to resume the game, so let's just add the text to this first. So we'll say resume game like that, without the capital letters in the middle of it, and we'll call this button resume. Then we'll duplicate it, drag it down a little bit, call this one level select, and then we'll add to the text, or we'll not add to the text, but change the text to say level select there like that. And then finally we'll add one more button, or duplicate one more button anyway, and this will be our quit to main, and on the text we'll say quit to main menu, so we can pause the game whenever we want and quit out to the main menu. Okay, so now that we have these three buttons, again we're going to need to actually add a script to be able to use these buttons. We'll also need to be able to add the ability to open and close the pause screen from the game itself. So let's add a new script down here. Create C# script that we will call pause screen. And we're going to open this up in Unity. Or not in Unity, in MonoDevelop, sorry. Okay, so much like we've done previously, we're going to need to add a couple of variables to use for loading up our different levels. So we'll add a public string level select and a public string main menu. Perfect. And then we're going to add our three functions to control our buttons. So we'll have a public void resume game like that, a public void level select like that, and finally our public void quit to main menu. Okay, so we'll handle the nice and straightforward ones first. So On our level select here, we're obviously going to want to quit out to our level select, and when we move into the new area, we want to make sure that our lives are whatever we currently have in the game, and that our coin count is whatever we currently have as well. So we will add player prefs dot set int for our player lives will be whatever our current player lives are. So to know what our current player lives are, we need access to the level manager. So we're going to need to add a variable up here for our level manager. So this will be private level manager, the level manager. Again, much like we've done many times now, we're accessing the level manager the exact same way. So we're making sure that we set the level manager to be whatever one is active in our world at the moment. Perfect. So then down here we can say the level manager dot current lives. So that'll store that value, and we also want to store the value of our coins at the moment. So we'll have set int coin count, and the value we want to give for this one is in our level manager the not current lives, but yes, it is just called coin count, isn't it? Oh, I moved out of it there for a second. Hold on. Dot coin count. There we go. Close that bracket or semicolon. So we're saving those values so that when we load into the level select, it'll know the right thing, and then we can load up that scene. So we can go scene manager. Actually, sorry, no, we need to add that we're using the scene manager up here. So Unity Engine dot scene management, and then we can say scene manager. Scene manager, oops, I used the wrong thing there. Scene manager dot load scene, and the scene we want to load is our level select. So perfect, that's exactly what we want to do there, and that works fine. And then for our quit to main menu, all we want to do here is load our scene manager dot load scene main menu, and that's perfectly fine. And then we come to using our resume game. So this is where things get a little bit more interesting and kind of fun to play around with. So we're just going to save this and go back into the game here. So we have our pause screen all kind of set up, and we have our buttons and stuff on it. And obviously we're going to attach our pause screen script here. So let's just attach our script and start hooking up these buttons so they actually do some stuff. So we'll add our pause screen here. We'll name our level select. So that'll be level select and main menu. I'm very certain they're spelled correctly. Level select and main menu. Perfect. And then we'll make our buttons be the right things here as well. So let's just create a new slot, drag the pause screen in there, and we'll start assigning our functions. So pause screen resume, then pause screen level select, and pause screen quit to main menu. Perfect. Okay, so we've got them all doing stuff now. So how's our resume going to work? Well, at the moment we have our pause screen controlling the game, and this will have to be always active within the world, because if we want to have the ability to actually pause the game, what we're going to do is use our actual update loop here, check if the player presses the button to pause the game, and if they pause the game, then we're going to activate all this stuff here. So what we're actually going to do now is just, apart from the image, which is behind everything, we're going to click everything else that's a child of the pause screen, and we're going to click and drag it to be a child of image. So now this image itself is kind of holding everything else within our screen. And now if we were to activate and deactivate that, our pause screen turns on and off without having to use the actual holder here. So that's exactly what we want. So now let's make reference to this image here. We're going to create a new game object, and then we are able to set whether that's active or not. So if we go in here, we're going to create a new public game object. We'll just call it the pause screen. Sorry, I didn't put the at the front of it. There we go, the pause screen. And then what we want to do in our update loop here is say, if the player presses the pause button, which is kind of by default and by standard kind of thinking on a PC is normally our escape key. So if input.get key down, so whenever the player presses the key that we're about to talk about, we have to put in a bracket here, key code dot escape. So previously we've used buttons to get whenever the player is jumping and stuff like that, and that's making use of our, in our project settings and our input here, that's making use of these things here, but we don't have this explicit thing for our escape button being used. It is used here for cancel down here, but that's not really appropriate because stay on the like controller or anything like that, that'll be button 1. So what we could do is create a new axis down here, but we're not going to get into that. We're going to keep it nice and simple, and for the moment we're just going to say if the player presses the escape key, then we'll activate our menu. So if input the get key down, key code escape, if that's true, so our player has pressed the button, then what we can do here is say our pause screen, sorry, not pause screen, the pause screen dot set active should be true. So then at the same time, in our resume game, well, we know that if the player presses the resume button, then they should be deactivating the pause screen. So we can say here the pause screen dot set active is false, and on a basic level that will pause and unpause the game. So we can just save this and go back into the game here, and let's see how this works in action. So if we were to deactivate our image once it compiles, like this, there we go, and we hit our play button. So we've got our game going here. If we hit pause, oh, we haven't actually set that to be assigned to the right thing yet, so we've got our empty game object here. Let's drag image into there, and we'll hit play again, and if we hit escape, so our screen becomes active. Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing there by accident. Let's just restart this. We see that we've got our level kind of thing loads up. It kind of makes it nice and dark, and if we were to hit resume game, well, at the moment nothing happens. So we pause the game here, but we're getting a bit of a problem. We've got our resume game and our level select, but if I click on both of these, nothing's happening. If I were to click on quit the main menu, however, that is working, and that's because if we look over here at our pause screen, our resume and all these text boxes are in the same line. And the reason for that is because when I dragged them in to be a child of image, they were all expanded. So whichever ones that I clicked like this and I dragged them in to be a child of image, they just all became a child rather than say this text here should have been a child of resume. So if I was to make this a child of resume here like this, and this text to be a child of level select, we go back to the game, and now our resume button are all working the exact way that they should. So it's another thing to be aware of, that when you're dragging objects to be a child, you kind of need to make sure that they stay collapsed like this. And the reason that didn't happen with quit the main was because when I selected all the objects, I essentially went like this, and I didn't highlight the text box below quit the main, because I knew that would come with the quit the main. So that's why all of them just got made a direct child of image here, like that. So let's just have the game running and set these back so that they're actually in the right places. But we could see when we ran the game there that our pause menu is now activating and deactivating. But if we were to pause the game here again, the only problem is if I start moving the player, I'm able to move around in the world. So that's no good. We need our player to be able to not move at all. So let's go back out to our script.